Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm here today to ask the question, what would you do if in January of 1979 you released an album which gave you exposure all over the world, celebrity, success? What would you do? Now, in Joe Jackson's case, he followed up Look Sharp, that album I was talking about, with I'm the Man. And about 10 months later, here it came. Out it came before the end of the 70s. And this is a great album, an original Australian press here. Sounds absolutely beautiful. And we have on the inner sleeve lyrics and the band here on the back with Gary Sanford on guitar, Joe on piano and harmonica. Why am I reading this to you? Dave on drums and the incredible Graham Maby on bass. And it's released on the A&M label. Ever seen one of those before? Gosh, yeah. What a stupid thing. Anyway, Joe Jackson has spoken about this album as being like Look Sharp Part 2. Very similar, a little bit longer than its predecessor, and it also contains his biggest hit that he ever had in the UK. So that is something. Anyway, is it slightly better than the original? Is it exactly the same? Not quite up to the same sort of chops? Let's find out, hey? We begin the album with On Your Radio, which I've got to go to confessional, and I must confess, when I first illegally taped this album onto a cassette, I left On Your Radio off. I don't know why I did. I don't know why I did that at all. Was it because of that melodica or harmonica that was playing at the start? I'm just not sure. But imagine my excitement when I picked up this album, a replacement copy for my one that I bought way back in the day, and found that it started with a different song called On Your Radio. I love how this just shoots out of the gate right at the beginning. It's got a lot of power and propulsion. That rhythm section is doing absolutely fine. But you know what? It's the brilliance of the middle section, which just lifts off with those incredible chords by Gary, while that bass almost acts like a solo instrument beneath. And that happens twice within the song. So I was really thrilled to get it back. But how would you open an album after getting all that exposure, celebrity, and success? Well, you'd basically do a repost to everybody who's ever bullied you or put you down or didn't believe in you right from the start. So he's got ex-friends, ex-lovers, ex-bosses, and ex-teachers. He's saying, bye-bye, I'm going this way. And if you want to ever talk to me or communicate with me, you can hear me on your radio, which is not what I thought lyrically the song was going to be all about when I just saw the title. But still, Geraldine and John is up next, and that was the first track that I used to have on the cassette, and I thought it worked absolutely beautifully. I think we've got the old melodica going again here, and I love this line: "See that happy couple, so inseparable," and the beat goes on, and for better or for worse, they are married, not of course, but to each other. And there's that real sense here that it's the happy loving couples are gone from the first album, which they were basically in that song from the first album anyway. And now people are looking for the shiny fruit, the moment where they can get that desire and that hunger and that ecstasy back again. But it is temporary and it won't last. That melodica solo, if it is a melodica solo in there, seems to me like it's from the banks of the Seine and it's cut from a Parisian boulevard. It just takes me back to Europe. I absolutely adore it. Great song. And I thought it worked beautifully as the opening song on the album. But what was I to know? Kinda Cute comes on, and as the title suggests, it is kind of cute. It's a poppy dance number, and it's all about the idea of sitting on the romantic sidelines once more. Uh, it's a good sing-along song, and when I wrote up some notes about this, which you can see me look at occasionally, I wrote down I wouldn't be surprised if this was a single, and in fact, it was the third single, and apparently it had worldwide success in Canada, where it broke the top 100 and went all the way up to 91. Oh, well, what can you do? Well, what can you do? I keep asking that question. Well, what you can actually do is record what I think is his greatest song of all time, and that's It's Different for Girls. It's a masterpiece. It's the biggest hit he ever had, so everybody got it right there. It's my favorite, and from the introduction of those two guitar notes, the beedle, 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 and they're haunting guitar notes, then we have the bass and the drums come in, and just a superb melody from Joe. Um, all the way through. It's absolutely fantastic. But where it's really clever is lyrically, where it breaks this stereotype that men aren't interested in love, what they're interested in sex, and he flips it so now it's the female who's not interested in love. Great lyrics. Who said anything about love? Don't you know that it's different for girls and you're all the same? Uh, don't miss out though on the last sort of 30 seconds where it breaks down at the end. It sort of just peters off into the end because we've got this beautiful bass line or bass solo from Graham that's playing there. Absolute moment of genius. And then, if I've just said that Different for Girls is my favorite song of his, um, this one is probably my second favorite, is my second favorite. It's called I'm the Man. It's the title track. It's an incredible song. It's full of propulsive energy, which the band just takes out of the gate at rapid fire pace. Great guitar chords, the bass line's underpinning anything. And if I was a drummer, I would know a little bit more about how great Dave Houghton is, because some of the stuff that he does in this on this album is just perfection, syncopated, beautifully timed, rhythmical, all those sorts of things. It's all about the consumer culture again, and what these shady characters will do to get your money. And he talks about kung fu, skateboards, a giant rubber shark, hula hoops, etc. And even mentions that if I can't get to you, because sometimes I can't get to you, so I'm going to get to your children. Um, but the middle section, the solo section, to me, is where this song really just elevates itself into the stratosphere in terms of greatness. We have guitar chords from Gary just sort of shining their way, slithering all over the mix, and then it comes into the bass and the drums together, particularly the bass, which just goes ape wild. But the drums too, the accents there that Dave's got going are so amazing, and it brings it up to this maelstrom, this cacophony of sound, this brilliant melody of sounds, and then all of a sudden it comes back down to Joe shouting out the last verse. Absolutely incredible. It's like a sort of this idea that you've been climbing a hill at the end of this solo, climbing this hill, and you've got this big leap to take off into the water, and you're filled with adrenaline, euphoria, and you're floating along as you're flying down to the water. But it's okay because you know Captain Joe will be down to pick you up and keep you safe. Astonishing, astonishing song. That if you haven't listened to for a while, please give it another shot. I'm the Man. Whoa. So a very cool side one, but don't skip out on side two because I don't think it has the singles or the hits that were on side one, but that doesn't mean it's not full of greatness as well. And I love how the side starts off with the band wore blue shirts and the music played on. Bam, 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 with the melodica or the harmonica there. If anybody knows, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to be educated on this because I've always just thought it was a harmonica. Anyway, this is a great song lyrically as well, and it's about the old days and the days when we used to play guitar in bands and things like that. If you did, I know I did without ever reaching the zenith of fame. And what we remember from these experiences, whether they're going to be positive or negative or just kind of nebulous and blurry. I remember one thing that happened to me, which was an absolute joke, is I was playing outside and it was like 100 degrees outside at this restaurant, and people were supposed to sit outside, but they moved in because it was into the air conditioning. They moved inside because it was too hot, and all the doors, these glass doors, were closed around me. And there I was playing by myself in 100 degrees while everybody was inside and couldn't hear me. And what I ended up doing was miming the entire set. And instead of singing The Girl from Ipanema, and I got away with it. Nobody knew. Anyway, this is called The Band with Blue Shirts. And what do we remember? We remember the waiters wore black dinner jackets and the band wore blue shirts. I've always loved it, as I've said. Maybe, though, this song is a little bit more lyrically interesting than musically. I don't know. It takes me back to a time, that nostalgia idea, but it's the lyrics that really get to me in this one. Now, we go into the next song, which is a sleeper. It's not a sleeper in terms of its sound or its energy, because it really is a powerhouse groove to start off with, and it's called Don't Want to Be Like That. We're just chiming back to the 1960s with all this power pop, but then towards the end, we go into an instrumental section. And that's what I want to talk about, because at this moment, the power pop sort of disappears and the drums are gone, Joe's gone, the bass is only accentuating like one beat in every four. But it's Gary who starts with these beautiful chiming rhythm guitars, and he starts building those up. It starts to get supported by Graham, and and then another line comes in. It's a distorted line. I think it's a distorted bass line that's coming through it. So we've got another line of Graham's, and then David's drums to start to pound in with some syncopation, with some rolls and things like that. And Joe starts screaming over the top, "You get crazy!" And then we come right back into the chorus, and we're out of the song. Absolutely fantastic. The song itself seems to be about being exposed to the cult of celebrity in the United States, and thinking, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be this commodity. I want to still be myself. Again, this is an interesting idea of what do you do when you've had a successful first album? Will you come and tell people that you're going to have your independence regardless? Really cool. Then we move on to a song which is a very quiet ballad, and compared to any other song on the first two albums, this is the softest, most soulful song on it, and it's on them, and it's called Amateur Hour. And this is sort of like a melancholic retrospective for musicians who have been sucked in and spat out by the industry. Great lyrics. Have I got those here? There's no more time to think about the way ahead. Just miss one line. Fall. You'll be left for dead. I enjoy this album so much because of that poignancy, that melancholia, but also because of Gary's guitar playing here. I'm mentioning him a lot more, I think, on this album than I did on my review for Look Sharp, because he's playing harmonics. He's also playing above the nut, which is really cool, and he's got some great hammer-ons and pull-offs. That's what they call it, hammers on and pull-off, which is giving this rhythmical, floating dreaminess to it. Absolutely fantastic. That's followed by Get That Girl, which is another power pop song. And maybe it's kind of a little bit of a cleanser at this point, because from that melancholia and poignancy and that aggression. But this is a really interesting song, because if I've got it right, lyrically he's talking about get that girl, but he's saying it, and the protagonist is saying it to the girl's partner, and he's going, sooner or later I'm going to get that girl. I'm going to make her mine. We've got these beautiful tom toms that are working. Was it the floor tom, which is working from Dave? But I wonder what the woman's thoughts might have been on this. Had she have heard it, and that she was being bartered or positioned in a situation where she would have no say in who she'd end up with, kind of like Daisy in The Great Gatsby, I sort of think. But I'm not too sure about that. Anyway, it's not a standout for me. I like the song very much until dun, 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 it's the dreaded key change. In this case, though, the key change kind of works. If the whole song's point is to get us dancing, get us moving, then this certainly, by elevating it to the next semitone, really does give the song some energy and adrenaline. It builds it up to a wonderful finish. Really cool. The final song on the side is, I don't know, probably my favorite or third favorite Joe Jackson song, and it's called Friday. And it's like Time from Look Sharp on the first album, in that it's a real rocking song propelling us all the way to the end. But this time it's got the funk. It starts off with that beautiful funky bass line, and we've gone now from sort of the garage 60s, garage rock sort of updated 60s sound of Got the Time on Look Sharp, and we've gone into the funk. Graham's bass is just incredibly amazing throughout this song, as is Gary's guitar playing, the drumming of Dave. They work together brilliantly, but it's got to be hats off to Gary for the incredible solo with the dual harmonized guitar lines, which are awesome. And that sort of comes after that sort of bass run, I think. Yeah, they do. Absolutely brilliant. And then that breaks us down, way back down, after the band just goes completely berserk in this total mania, controlled chaos. as they do that, the band just comes down, and then Joe comes back over the top with the verses, and slowly builds us up. And I love that chanting. Friday rules, okay. Ain't talking about a Monday. Ain't talking about Tuesday. Ain't talking about, and then that fury when they come back in is so damn cool. I love the lyrics as well here. It's established at the beginning. Lazy Jilly was a flower child, all the summer calmly running wild. She'd be silly and her friends just smiled. Pass the bottle, wash the pills down. What went wrong? And it's sort of like thinking like the summer of love is gone, or maybe it was the summer of the late 70s was gone, and all the optimism and dreams of these people who believed in the future has now been washed down with drugs and alcohol, and we're now husks of the loving creatures that we were before. But, you know, the lyrics are fantastic. This is close to a perfect song for me, but it is that band that works its magic in the middle of the song, which is so incendiary. What a band, what a composer, what a singer. Everything just ticks all the boxes at the highest level. I'm the Man by Joe Jackson. Side 1, side 2, just great. So I guess you can kind of appreciate now that I really like these first 2 Joe Jackson albums. They're indispensable. You know, when I started buying records again after giving away all of my records in the past and my CDs, I sort of made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to replace any albums that I used to have on vinyl. And strangely enough, I'm the Man and Look Sharp just sort of edged their way in, perhaps because they're ridiculously cheap. Anyway, I have done also a full deep dive on Look Sharp, and I've also done a video which is kind of pointless, but it's kind of fun as well, kind of cute, in which I pitted Look Sharp versus I'm the Man track by track and see who came out winning. And you can catch those links down below in the comments. It's just been such a pleasure listening to this again. I was on my walk this morning and I'm the Man came on, and I was just, all of a sudden the steps were flying so quickly. And remember that if music of any size, shape, sound, or sharpness gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you had, please leave a note in the comments, because I always love to hear what you have to say. And on the way down to the comments, if you just tap that like button and maybe think about subscribing, because I know you want to. Anyway, what's that all about? Anyway, until next time, I hope you're enjoying this Joe Jackson kick. Until next time, I hope you're doing really well. Stay cool, and bye now.